She paused on a ridge, the palace now a distant shape in the moonlight, its spires rising above the mist like a memory she could not let go of. Valentina pulled her emerald cloak tighter, comforted by its weight and the hidden magic in its seams. A spark of hope warmed her chest, fighting off the cold and fear. She breathed in the crisp, pine-scented air, then squared her shoulders and moved forward. Each step was a promise to face whatever the wild world might bring as she searched for her own destiny. The terrain quickly became dangerous, a maze of crumbling rock, loose stones and narrow ledges. Jagged peaks surrounded her, their snow-dusted tops shining under a cold, distant moon. Deep crevices opened at her feet, ready to trap anyone who was not careful. With each step, gravel shifted under her boots, and pebbles rolled down the slopes. The mountains seemed to judge her in silence, testing her courage as she walked the narrow path. The moon's pale light turned everything silver blue, making the world feel full of shadows and possibilities. Alone in the darkness, Valentina kept going, guided by her aunt's advice and her own determination. As night grew darker, the temperature dropped, and each gust of wind cut through her cloak, raising goosebumps on her skin. Valentina's breath turned to mist in the cold air, and her fingers stiffened around her satchel strap. When the cold became too much, she remembered LaChapelle's advice about hidden waypoints, marked by signs only the trained eyes could see. She searched the darkness for the twisted shape of a landmark pine or the glint of quartz in the rocks. Relief washed over her when she found a shelter under a mossy overhang, where the air was warmer and smelled of earth and pine needles. This spot was a welcome refuge, a small, safe place in the wild where she could rest and regain her strength for what lay ahead. Hope returned, as if her aunt's wisdom was lighting her way through the night. When the first light of dawn touched the peaks, Valentina left her shelter. Her skin was cold, but her spirit felt stronger. She stayed alert, noticing the scurry of small animals in the brush, the distant call of a night bird, and the changing color of the trail under her boots. She remembered LaChapelle's warning. When the stone path turned to slick clay, danger was close. She tested each step, feeling for the shift from solid rock to slippery mud. Her heart beat with determination. No obstacle would make her turn back. She moved carefully, like a hunter, each step showing her readiness and hope. Valentina repeated the instructions softly, her voice almost lost in the wind. From stone to clay, veer away. Beneath the tree is where you'll lay. Field of fire when you wake. It's time to return to the clay. Each line meant more than just directions. They were a link to LaChapelle, to home, and to the wisdom passed down through her family. The words steadied her, giving her strength in the wilderness. Each time she spoke them, she silently promised to survive, to endure, and to honor the love that sent her on this journey. She made her way across a vast, wind-swept plain, the grass damp and fragrant under her boots. The scent of earth and wildflowers, mixed with moss and old stone, filled the air. Each step echoed in the emptiness, her footfalls sounding like a distant drum. Far ahead, she saw a single ancient tree on the horizon. Its twisted branches were bare, and its trunk was hollowed by time and weather. Seeing it brought her relief. This was the waypoint LaChapelle had described. Valentina hurried, feeling both tired and hopeful. When she reached the tree, she slipped into the hollow and traced the runes carved into its bark. This silent sign reassured her she was on the right path. She wrapped her cloak tightly around herself, the tree's shelter easing her loneliness. For the first time since leaving home, she let herself rest, comforted by knowing she had come this far on her own. The vast, blackened trunk stood guard against the darkness, its bark marked by charcoal streaks and deep cracks that showed its strength through many storms. The opening was big enough for her to crouch and slip inside, the wood worn smooth by years of wind and rain. Inside, the space was larger than she expected. The floor was covered with thick moss and old, fragrant leaves, and the air smelled of earth and smoke. The curved walls formed a natural dome, protecting her from the cold wind and the distant cries of wild animals. As Valentina crawled deeper into the trunk, her fingers touched rough wood. She found a simple door made from fallen branches and bark, shaped to close off the entrance. She slid it into place and wedged it with a stone, so nothing could get in. The wild sounds outside faded, replaced by her own breathing and heartbeat. In this hidden shelter she felt safe for the night, held by the old tree's quiet strength. Once she was settled inside her wooden shelter, Valentina let her tiredness fade from her body. She curled up on the mossy floor, pulled her cloak close, and closed her eyes. Even as her body relaxed, her mind raced with worries and plans. The hunger for life energy, always present, pulsed under her skin. She pressed her hand to her chest, feeling the urgent need for strength before she grew weaker. As she fell asleep, Valentina's spirit drifted into the dream world. There, she moved quietly among sleeping souls, searching for the energy she needed. She always found her way back to Sevyn's dreams, where his presence shone like a light in the shifting dreamscape. Their nightly meetings became a routine, filled with conversation, laughter, and shared memories. She stayed at the edge of his mind, careful not to take too much of his energy, wanting to protect him while finding comfort in his warmth. Their bond grew stronger each night, becoming more than just a need. It was a promise that tied their fates together. Each night, when their souls met in dreams, Valentina sought to learn more about Sevyn. Their talks were lively and varied, sometimes playful, sometimes serious, and sometimes mysterious, leaving her thinking long after she woke. Through these visits, she learned about his hopes, fears, and memories, slowly putting together pieces of his past and hints of his future. Every detail mattered. A memory of a riverbank, a favorite song, or laughter after a joke. Their growing connection existed in the space between reality and dreams. It felt fragile but strong enough to change their lives. Valentina sensed their lives becoming more connected, revealing new paths and choices she had never seen before. The mystery of their bond drew her in, making her want not just energy, but also understanding and a sense of belonging. She hoped that together they could change their destinies. As dawn arrived, coloring the sky with dark blue and orange, Valentina woke up in her shelter. The air had changed. It was sharp, smelling of burning grass. She sat up quickly, heart racing, and moved the makeshift door aside. Pale light came in, showing smoke swirling in the morning air. On a distant hill, fire burned fiercely, spreading quickly through the grass and moving toward the forest. Thick smoke rose into the sky, blocking the sun, and the sound of the fire reached her as a deep, threatening noise. She felt a sudden rush of fear. The fire was coming for her. Every instinct told her to run and escape before the flames caught up. Valentina jumped up, pushed the door aside, and ran out into the cool morning. Adrenaline rushed through her as she sprinted away from the tree, her bare feet hitting the wet grass and her cloak trailing behind. The ground shook from the fire, and embers filled the smoky air, burning her eyes and throat. She ran toward the path La Chapelle had told her about, looking for the change from stone to clay to know she was going the right way. Panic rose in Valentina as she ran through the forest, the sound of the fire loud behind her. Embers glowed in the smoky air, burning her cheeks and the edge of her cloak. Sweat mixed with ash on her skin. She breathed hard as she jumped over roots and avoided burning branches, her heart pounding with fear and determination. Even as everything around her fell into chaos, Valentina thought of Sevyn. Remembering his steady presence and kind words gave her strength. She focused on his laughter and the memory of his hand touching hers, and hope grew inside her. With each step she promised herself to survive, find safety, and protect the bond they shared. As the fire faded and the world became quiet, Valentina remembered her Aunt La Chapelle's advice, repeating each lesson for comfort. The path to the junction gate wound through thick plants and dark clearings, reminding her of the dangers outside the kingdom. LaChapelle's words guided her through the chaos. "Beware of the beggars. They're not what they seem. Their tongues speak no truth. Do not fall for their schemes." She whispered the words under her breath, letting them crystallize in her mind, the weight of her aunt's experience pressing down on her with a mixture of reverence and dread. The memory of LaChapelle's caution steadied Valentina's nerves, even as uncertainty gnawed at her resolve. LaChapelle's warnings echoed through Valentina's mind, cold as wind moaning through a crypt. She conjured the beggars as legend painted them, faces streaked with sorrow and filth, eyes black as bottomless wells, their innocence a veil stretched over chasms of malice. Their voices could mimic hope. Their smiles were snares set for the soft-hearted. The memory of vanished travelers, swallowed by shadow, bartered away in riddles and ruin, sent frost skittering over her skin. Each tale was a ghost's whisper, threading dread into her resolve.